Okay, part of what she does is she's a chiropractor, and this was in August. I believe this was in August. So it was after the Olympics. So JT had the idea of, the only person to ever really beat Michael Phelps was a Singaporean swimmer who won the gold medal. So he says to her, we need to figure out how to get you positioned with the Olympic gold medalist by possibly doing a chiropractor adjustment. Let's see how we could do an adjustment, because she actually has an office at the pool and the facility where he trains for swimming, right? So how do we actually get this positioning and connection to happen to help bring her brand to the next level? So while they were at his house in Thailand, they come up with this idea and come up with this strategy, where next thing you know, she's sending JT this, where she's on the cover of the paper giving him a chiropractic adjustment. Now, one thing I want to point out that has nothing to do with branding, look at how big his hands are. Do you see? They're literally like flipper hands. Like, no wonder he actually beat Michael Phelps, because they just look massive, right? No wonder looks like he was built to be a swimmer and I don't know if it's how the picture worked out, but it's kind of crazy. But that's some of what he does, right? It's not just about him, but how can he help other people figure out that branding and that positioning to be able to get that attention, to help them be able to build their business, acquire more clientele, and kind of expand their brand and their exposure. So none of that, though, would have started without Coach Paul. So this is JT's very, very first speaker coach. Now, I told you I would share with you some of those things that if JT was here, he probably wouldn't tell you. When JT first started as a speaker, he was really, really, really bad. Okay? To the point of he was so bad that the first event he ever spoke at was an event in Chicago. And this is going back probably about 8.5, 9 years. Prior to speaking at this event, he had a radio show. He had his own radio show that was nationally syndicated across the U.S., which he doesn't have anymore, but this is going back years ago. And he used it to really help build his brand in the real estate market. And the whole show was really about real estate and people that had real estate trouble or properties were in foreclosure or whatever the case may be. He had a guest on his show that suggested to him, hey, you're really good on the radio, you're funny, you should try speaking. You would probably be a great speaker. So he helped him get a speaking engagement at a local event there in Chicago. Now, it was a local event, but there was about 500 people at this event in Chicago. So he gets up and he kind of treats it how he would his radio show, which is very different because now you actually have a live audience, right? On the radio, you can make a joke or you can say something and you can insert a laugh track. You can't do that at a live event. If people don't find you funny, you're just not funny and nobody laughs at you, right? So he decided it would be a good idea to get up on stage and actually do a Borat impression. Okay? And JT is very, very good at doing impersonations and impressions, but nobody laughs. So he follows the Borat impression with saying to the 500 people in the room, asking how many of them want to be real estate investors, which it was a real estate event, so most people raised their hand. And he said, out of all of you, only one will be successful. So you can imagine how well that went over with a crowd of 500 people. So at the end, he tries to sell a product, and he's standing there, and it was kind of like, a CD box set type product, so he's holding up his product, and he's telling people to go to the back. After he's already done a Borat impression and basically told them that only one of them will ever be successful, and nobody buys his program. So this particular event promoter, the lady that puts on this event, decides she would not like to have him at any future events. Needless to say, right? Because as a promoter and the person that puts on an event, you get a percentage of the product sales. So if somebody doesn't sell anything, you didn't make any money. You need people that are going to sell in order for you to make money. You're out the cost of the venue, whatever marketing, so you need people that actually sell. So he does some research and reaches out to some people, and he's like, I need a coach. One thing that JT is very good at is anything he's not successful at, he realizes in order to be successful, he needs to learn from somebody that is a master in that area. He doesn't say, I didn't do well at speaking, so I'm just going to keep trying, and I'm going to keep trying, and I'm going to keep trying, and eventually I'll get better. He says, I didn't do well, I need to find someone that will help me succeed. Okay? That lady that didn't want to have him back at her event, just to give you a gauge of how bad JT did, she still will not let JT come back and speak at her event. Okay? That's how bad it was. That's bad, right? I mean, obviously he's changed. Obviously he has success stories. He's spoken almost all over the world and has the proof of how much better he's gotten. But he left such a bad impression that she to this day will not let him have it back. So after doing the research and finding out and asking a lot of people, who do I need to be successful, he is introduced to or referred to Coach Paul. So this is actually JT and Coach Paul. This is at JT's house not that long ago. So he calls Coach Paul on the phone. And when he calls Coach Paul, Paul answers the phone and JT's like, this is JT Fox. I need to talk to you about coaching me on how to become a speaker. And Paul responds and goes, I can't talk right now. I'm mushroom hunting. And JT is like, is this a joke? Who the heck goes mushroom hunting, right? What is mushroom hunting, right? I've never heard of that before. So he's like, well, when can I call you back? And he gives him a date, a time. So JT calls him back and is like, I need help. I need to become a better speaker. What is it going to take? And he said, well, I do 1 day of one-on-one coaching for $25,000. And JT was like, that's a lot. And he was like, well, that's my price. 1 day of coaching for $25,000. Take it or leave it. JT said, okay, I've heard you're the best. I've heard you can produce results, so let's do it. So JT goes to Coach Paul. They do 1 day of coaching, and during that day, Coach Paul really breaks down JT's presentation, right? And says, okay, you can't tell the audience only one of you is going to be successful. We got to take that out of the presentation, right? He's helping him kind of restructure the presentation and really focusing on what he's saying, when he's saying it, and how to say it. Right, so one part of JT's presentation, he was talking about how, something about how they're going to walk up the hill together. And when you get to the top of the hill, you can either walk back down the hill, or you can jump, and together, you're gonna soar to the heavens, okay? So Coach Paul is like, well, you can't say it like that. You need to say, soar to the heavens. JT's like, soar to the heavens. Coach Paul's like, no, that's not what I'm saying. So Coach Paul actually has JT for about an hour practicing going, soar to the heavens, soar to the heavens, right? Like practicing. And JT's like, this is ridiculous. This guy is crazy. What did I pay all of this money for, right? But he's like, this is what he's saying to do. So now he somehow was able to get another speaking engagement. Not with that same lady, clearly someone that didn't hear how the first speaking engagement went, but he was able to get a second speaking engagement. So he did, and now he's been coached by Paul. He's lost the Borat impersonation. He dropped out the telling only one person will be successful. So now he does his presentation, and people actually buy. And he's like, I don't know what Coach Paul did, but something worked. So he starts asking people, hey, what made you buy? What were you interested in? And 3 of the people say to him, I thought your presentation was really great, but that point where you said, soar to the heavens, it really spoke to me. And that's why I bought. And JT in his head was like, you've got to be kidding me. Right? That was the game changer. And he thought it was ridiculous when Coach Paul was telling him that. So JT gets done with the event, right? And all these people bought, so he calls Coach Paul back and he's like, I thought you were the crazy mushroom hunter guy, but what you shared with me, it worked. And he goes, did it? And JT goes, yeah. I did this event and I actually made $100,000 from this event, speaking and selling my product, and that was because of you. And Coach Paul said, well, now you probably really need my 3-day intensive training. Right? And JT goes, well, how much is that? And he goes, well, that's $80,000. And JT said, all right, let's do it. Because he saw what the benefit was from his initial coaching, right? So now he wanted to take everything he possibly could from Coach Paul to really be able to take his speaking career to the next level, right? And that was like 6.5, 7 years ago that he actually did that with Coach Paul, which has been a game changer for his business, right? Had he never done that, and he tried to stick with his Borat impersonations and telling only one person they could be successful, he would have never actually had a successful speaking career. So now he has Coach Paul not only teach him, but come to his house and teach some of his other students as well. Because just like I said, he likes to give back that opportunity to learn from his coaches, to speak on his stages, to interview the celebrities that he has. So he has other people, he gives them the opportunity to learn and share and exchange ideas with Coach Paul as well. Right? And that, from the stuff he's learned from Coach Paul, when JT speaks at an event with 5,000 people, this is what it looks like when he sells his product or program. From everything that Coach Paul has shared with him. Now, JT in his presentation, he's still not soaring to the heavens, right? He's kind of advanced from that, but it was all from that initial coaching from Coach Paul that is the, like I said, how to say something, when to say it, and the impact that you need to have when you say something like that. So all of that has been the things that Coach Paul has shared with him. Right? And you can see how crazy it is. So when JT speaks at an event like that, he will sell his CDs, and I already told you that's for around $5,000, right? And this CD set is Speak Your Way to Millions that he has. And the cool thing about this is everything that Coach Paul initially taught JT. It's the how to speak, what to say, when to have the right inflection, where to stand on the stage, right? How to really make an impact as a speaker. It's one thing to not be afraid to get up on stage, right? There's one of overcoming a fear, but how do you actually say those right things to make the impact and make a difference and make an impression on your audience? So JT will sell Speak Your Way to Millions to stages of 5,000, 3,000, 1,000 people, and he'll sell it at a $5,000 price point because that's what he does when he's on a big stage, right? But it's a little bit different when he's at an event like this. He doesn't sell something like this for $5,000 in a room like this to an audience. Not that he couldn't, but like I said, that's not what he's about. He's about training and sharing with other people to create other speakers so he doesn't have to travel anymore or travel as much. So I don't have to travel as much. So Stephen doesn't have to travel as much. So Rajiv doesn't have to travel as much. He can share and create other people that will learn how to speak and do what he does so he doesn't have to do it anymore. Now, when you sell something like this, You also want to make sure you have bonuses, right? It's not just about the program you are selling, because sometimes people actually buy your bonuses instead. So, for example, if you want the Speak Your Way to Millions program, what we actually do is it's not just about buying the CDs and learning everything from Coach Paul and kind of getting all those insider secrets that Coach Paul has to share. It's also being able to go to 2-day workshop to actually practice all of those things. To get up in front of the room and say, this is my topic, right? This is what I want to speak on. Is this a good topic? To actually get in front of the room and practice speaking and get feedback from different coaches. To actually also be able to figure out, I don't just want to be a speaker, how do I build a speaking business? Right? How do I get the people in my business? How do I market? How do I actually build the funnel? Right? Because it's not just about being a good speaker. There's a lot of business elements behind it. So JT actually has these different classes he does all over. These ones are all in Europe. He does them all over the US, Asia, Australia, kind of anywhere in the world. So if you want Speak Your Way to Millions, you also are able to get all of these bonus classes as well. So yes, there is a short flight to London or Zurich, which I know is it's not the closest to here, but I also know it's not that far from here to be able to travel to London. Zurich's a little bit further, but I know London's pretty close. But that's not the only thing. You also can go to any of JT's 2-day events for the next 10 years. So these might be on speaking or business, but maybe there's some on real estate, or marketing, or branding, or some other topic that hasn't even been created yet, because I almost guarantee in the next 10 years there will be something that comes up that he hasn't even thought of before. So it's not just selling a program, it's also what other things can I include. So yes, it's the actual program you can listen to, all of it from Coach Paul, of how to speak, how to say the right things, also how to market, how to build the speaking business, but then also get more kind of hands-on workshop, tactical information from those different workshops. So this is JT's presentation, and like I said, if you add all of that up, it's a $355,000 value, but he normally does this for 497 euros. But I told you good news, bad news, right? So bad news, JT's not here today. Good news, he can't yell at me for making stuff up on the spot. So I'm actually going to change this. And we're going to do it today for $249. So instead of the normal 497 euros, we're going to do it for 249 euros because JT's not here, and I don't really care if he's mad at me because he left me here by myself, because clearly it's his fault that he missed it, that the flight was delayed and he missed his connection. So I am going to give anyone that wants to, because I also know there isn't a class here, you do have to fly to London, so kind of giving that to you a little bit, giving that back to you by kind of changing the price without JT knowing, plus he's not awake yet, so nobody message him though and tell him, huh?
He is awake.
Oh, he is, well, please don't tell him, because he'll be shipping me somewhere undesirable, I'm sure, if he finds out. But you can take advantage of this for only $249 today instead of the normal $497. And one last thing that I will also give you the advantage of, maybe, is, see, it's $497, so that's $249 instead of the $497. If you want to, also go to our family reunion event, which is in LA. November 17th through the 21st. That's the one where we have all of the different celebrities. It's now 5 days in LA. I will tell you this year some of the celebrities that are going to be at the event and speaking. We have Charlie Sheen. We have Christy Brinkley, who is the former supermodel, married to formerly married to Billy Joel. We have Steve Wozniak, who is the co-founder with Steve Jobs of Apple. We have Bethany Frankel, who is a she's on The Real Housewives of New York. She created the Skinny Girl margarita that took off into the Skinny Girl brand. She also had 2 of her own reality shows, her own daytime talk show as well. She's going to be there speaking. We also have a couple of other people that we have not quite announced yet, and we have some different offers out there to people like Nicolas Cage, George Clooney, so we really have a pretty big celebrity lineup for this event. Tickets online are $197 right now if you want to go online to buy it. So instead, if you wanted to include a ticket to that, I'm going to give you the special option for where you can get it for 97 euros today instead. I do know, like I said, you can go online and buy it whenever you would like. But also, I do know online, because we're getting ready to announce a new A-lister, the ticket prices are going to be going up online. So if you want a ticket to join us for that event in LA, you can absolutely do that. So with that being said, what we are going to do, and kind of just to give everyone a little bit of a breakdown, it is almost 12:15, so we're going to go on lunch until 1:15. When we come back from lunch, Rajiv and I are going to break down how to actually structure your presentation. Okay, so there is kind of a success formula to structure your presentation. So we're going to go through how you actually, what you need to put in your presentation, what the structure of your presentation needs to be. We're also going to talk about a little bit later books, publishing a book, doing an ebook, strategies to leverage both, how you could actually potentially build branding, and how you could actually make money instead of losing money on a book. So we're going to talk about that this afternoon. We're going to talk about how you can start building your brand, different things you can do to start building your brand and creating products, test selling different products to your audience before you actually have to create them and spend the time building something that your audience isn't interested in. So we still have a bunch of stuff that we're going to be sharing when we come back from lunch in an hour. So we'll be back at 1:15. Anyone that wants the Speak Your Way to Millions CDs, it is straight in the back. Rajiv and Steven will help take care of you for not the $497, for $249. And if you want to add a ticket to Family Reunion, you can do that as well for the additional $97. And I will also be in the back if y'all have any questions on that. Otherwise, be back at 1:15 from lunch, and we will be going through the